How do you see God changing you through your volunteering here? You have kids?
I have kids. I have 20 teenagers that never thought I would have, and I talk about it much more openly at work and with people. What I do, I show them what I do. It opens up doors for faith talk and where we all stand and a way to get to know people better. And I have kids.
Patience. It's definitely lengthened my fuse a whole lot.
And I've shared this with you before. It seems like my times away from the garage when we're in a down part, or we're off for a little few weeks. It's like my spirituality just plateaus. But when I'm here at the garage and I'm involved, my spiritual progression is vertical, and it's I love that feeling. I want to be vertical. I want to be going vertical with God.
How do you think that happens?
The kids are genuine. Right, wrong, or indifferent. They tell you exactly what's going on and where they're at, and there's nothing phony about anything or where they're coming from. I don't know. It's just our group here. I mean, we're all on the front lines, and in our relationships, we're getting more intertwined with each other, and just being like in the trenches, in war. Hey.
I experienced the very same thing from the very beginning. I was with people who were, I like the way you put it, in the trenches, because I hadn't been in the trenches, and I could get through my Christian life, what it was then. I could get through that without a whole lot of extra God. I hate to admit that, but that's kind of where my spiritual life was for a long time. When I started doing this, there wasn't anything about this ministry that I could do to any level without a whole lot more God. And that's why my life became so much more vertical. Another good way that you phrased that was because I couldn't step on this parking lot without a really intimate connection with God, because there was no way. I felt like Karen did, completely inadequate for the job, never set out to work with teenagers. And so, here I was doing something really different than I would have ever imagined myself doing, and not in my own skill set at all. So I had to have God, like moment by moment, day by day. And so my life got a lot more vertical than it ever had been, and still is. Because this I cannot do on my own strength. And I think I waited my whole life for something that I couldn't do on my own strength.
I think also it's the type of kid that we're dealing with. They are so needy, and you're helping those that are poor, those that are hurting, those that are exactly like Wendy said, the ones Jesus would have helped. And it really does put you in at the front lines of Jesus' work. And I would never have experienced that in Sunday school, teaching Sunday school. I mean, it's altogether different.
Right.
I think for me, just more compassion. I thought I was compassionate, but when you work with these kids and hear their stories, your heart breaks, and really breaks, and then you want to help. And I just have a lot more compassion than I ever thought I'd have, and maybe I'm not as naive as I was either about what goes on out there that I didn't know goes on, well, really anywhere, but especially in Wadsworth. Yeah.
And isn't that like a perfect example of Christ making you more like Him?
I think it made me more tolerant and understanding, because I didn't grow up like these kids are growing up. I mean, my teen years was so totally different. And I mean, before I would look at them and think, gee, why doesn't somebody you know, get them in line. And I did not understand, really. I mean, I guess I was pretty intolerant too, because I didn't understand what they were going through. But when I heard some of their stories and saw it, I thought, oh, you know, it just helped me get an idea of where they were coming from that was so different, and how much they needed love and compassion and everything, and not being able to even express it themselves a lot of times because they didn't learn that.
It's like that first Christmas after we started. We got that card from that girl. Who said she thought about committing suicide and never gave her up. If that's not God moving, I don't know what it is.
I think one of the things that I and I think many others, you know, find it very easy. The fence, or the walls we hide behind, or the structure, the programs, the schedules that are very comfortable. And while we do have a schedule here at the garage, it usually gets adjusted quite a bit all the time. And because, you know, things just don't happen like you plan them. And, I think that's what causes us to change, as we're willing to minute by minute, you know. So what if it isn't time for it, or so what if the time is past? When the Holy Spirit is moving, that's the time that you take. And but this is a little more like you know, the daily minute by minute living that I think God calls us to.
What moved me the most at the beginning when I came here is that this was obviously God's program.
Before I became a volunteer, is that I got it so bad, you know, with the situations that were going on in my life, is that I got it rough. I'm you know, my life sucks and stuff like that. But then become a volunteer, just getting to know these kids even more. It's just like, wow, what a dirtbag was I. You know, it's like, what is it, 2 to 3 weeks ago, a kid comes 2 hours before lost his own father. It just blows my mind. You know, kids got it, I mean, way worse, and yet they come here just to find, for an escape even. And it just, you know, my heart breaks, and it's just, yeah.
So maybe what changed is our perspective on a lot of things, on compassion, on programs, on community, you know.
I think one of the things God's convicted me of is how living the church life program, the safe Christian life, is just not right. And you got to get out of that. There's people that need help. These kids are where I'm at, and they need more than just to show up there. They need to try to get involved in their lives and sacrifice and take some risk and invest in caring.
Yeah.
And I just felt really challenged to be different and be obedient.
Jesus would have never described the Christian life as being safe, would he?